If you're spending money on dyes every few weeks, if you've been told gray hair is just genetics with nothing you can do, what I'm about to tell you will change everything. The gray hair on your head right now might not be permanent. It might not even be genetic. It might be caused by a single vitamin deficiency, so common in people over 60 that Japanese researchers call it the invisible epidemic. I'm Barbara O'Neill, and after decades studying why some Japanese centenarians keep their natural color into their 80s, while others go completely gray by 50, I've identified one specific vitamin that can actually reverse gray hair and restore your natural color from inside out. I want to get to know you better. Write your name and which city you are watching from in the comments below. We are taught that graying is a biological timeline, a countdown that hits everyone differently, but is ultimately unavoidable. This resignation leads to the cycle of frustration, standing in front of the mirror every 10 days, seeing those silver strands break through, signaling that it's time for the next chemical application. Think about the hidden costs, the cumulative chemical exposure, and the sheer time spent trying to maintain an illusion that often looks flat and lifeless compared to your natural shade. For decades, the entire hair industry has operated under the assumption that the only treatment for gray is camouflage. But imagine if those cells in your scalp that produce color, melanocytes, haven't died but have simply gone dormant, starved of the one essential nutrient they need to function. That's exactly what the research shows, and it is revolutionizing how we approach aging and color retention. The moment we stop focusing on covering the symptom and start fueling the cellular engine, the results can be truly astonishing. The key to this reversal lies in understanding what causes the color loss in the first place. Your hair color is determined by melanin, and melanin is produced by specialized cells called melanocytes, located at the base of your hair follicle. For a long time, we thought these cells simply ran out of energy and died permanently. But my work, particularly studying the longevity secrets of older populations in Okinawa and Tokyo, indicated something entirely different. The data suggests that for most people who gray prematurely, the melanocytes don't die. They cease production. They become dormant, or more accurately, nutritionally deprived. They require a steady supply of specific raw materials to manufacture melanin pigment, and when that supply dries up, the hair grows out colorless. This is why the gray often starts slowly and then accelerates rapidly during times of stress or dietary change. But I'm not going to tell you which vitamin it is yet, because if I reveal it now, some of you will buy the wrong form, take the wrong dose, and wonder why nothing happens. You need to understand how gray hair actually forms, why this vitamin is the key to reversing it, and exactly how to use it correctly. But first, comment your age and whether your hair is starting to gray or already mostly gray. Let me tell you about Ko, because her story shows exactly what's possible when you address the root cause instead of just covering it up with dye. Ko was 68 when she came to my clinic in Tokyo. She'd started noticing gray strands creeping in during her mid-50s, and by 60 she was completely reliant on professional dyes. She visited the salon every 3 weeks, spending substantial money every year, but the process was exhausting, and she eventually developed a severe contact sensitivity that left her scalp painful and inflamed. When she sat down with me, she looked completely defeated, sharing that she had accepted gray hair was just her family's bad luck. Her mother and grandmother had gone gray early, so she believed she was merely fulfilling a genetic prophecy. However, my research repeatedly showed that while genetics dictate when the graying process might start, they rarely dictate whether it can be corrected through nutrition. Ko wasn't unhealthy. In fact, she followed a very traditional, clean Japanese diet. Lots of rice, fish, vegetables, and minimal fats or processed foods. She avoided junk food and ate mindfully. But the problem wasn't what she was eating, it was what she wasn't. She had largely eliminated two crucial food groups from her rotation: red meat and organ meats, and she rarely consumed shellfish, which she found difficult to digest. These dietary shifts, common among people entering their later decades globally, combined with an age-related change in her digestive system, had created a nutritional black hole. Her hair wasn't graying because her melanocytes were old. They were graying because they lacked the fundamental building blocks, the specific vitamin required to produce melanin pigment. She was starving her color-producing cells. When we ran specialized blood work, the results were not just low, they were dangerously depleted of this critical factor. It was the clear source of her invisible epidemic. This nutrient is vital for hundreds of bodily functions, including producing healthy DNA and maintaining nerve health. But crucially for hair color, it acts as the primary fuel source for the melanocytes. Without sufficient supply, these color-producing factories don't die, they simply shut down production. The consequence is that your hair grows out colorless, gray or white. What we discovered with Coe, and later validated in larger research groups, is that simply replacing this missing nutrient doesn't just halt the graying process, it can actually turn the pigment production switch back on. Within 6 months of starting her targeted nutritional protocol, Coe's hair began to change. Her stylist, who had been dyeing her hair for 10 years, was the first to notice the roots, which previously emerged stark white, were coming in significantly darker, a salt and pepper mix where only silver had been before. This wasn't a sudden reversal, but a fundamental shift in the cellular function within the follicle. Coe was literally regaining her natural color from the roots up. But I cannot stress this enough. Simply knowing the name of the vitamin isn't enough to replicate Coe's success. There's a crucial difference between a standard supplement you pick up cheaply and the specific bioavailable therapeutic form required to bypass the absorption problems most older adults face. If you take the common inexpensive version, you risk wasting your time and money because your body might never utilize it effectively. Understanding why most traditional supplements fail and how to ensure your body actually absorbs the reversal nutrient is the difference between continued gray frustration and seeing those dark roots return. We need to look deeper into why this deficiency is so prevalent, even among people who believe they are eating a perfect diet, and how 3 crucial hidden factors prevent the body from even taking up this essential color fuel. If you are struggling with persistent graying, the problem is not a faulty gene, but a failing cellular supply chain that can be restored with surgical precision, but only if you use the right tool in the right way. Understanding why most standard supplements fail is the key difference between frustration and success. The problem isn't that the graying cells need more fuel. The problem is that their gas tank is locked, and the fuel truck can't get past the security gate. Think of your stomach, that high-powered processing plant, not just as a pouch that holds food, but as a highly acidic environment necessary to dismantle and prepare nutrients for absorption. As we age, this processing power, specifically our ability to generate robust stomach acid, naturally starts to wane. This is the first critical failure point in the supply chain. Stomach acid is the only agent capable of stripping this specific color fuel vitamin away from the complex protein structures in the food you eat. If the acid isn't strong enough, that vital nutrient remains shackled to the protein, and you pass it straight through your system, deriving absolutely no benefit. Many people, like Coe, may believe they are getting enough of this nutrient because they eat a balanced diet, but if their digestive system cannot separate the vitamin from the food matrix, their color-producing cells remain starved. But the complexity deepens. Even if the vitamin is released from the food, it needs a specialized transport system to be absorbed lower down in your small intestine. This is where the second factor comes in, a specific protein carrier we call intrinsic factor. Low stomach acid production, which affects over 1/3 of people over the age of 50, often correlates directly with a dramatic drop in this essential shuttle protein. You might take a huge expensive pill packed with the vitamin, but if you lack the strong acid to release it, and the intrinsic factor to carry it, you are literally flushing your investment away. You could be eating perfectly, supplementing moderately, but your body physically cannot unlock or transport the required nutrient to the melanocytes. Now layer on top of natural aging, the widespread use of certain very common medications, and the deficiency problem accelerates dramatically. This is the third hidden factor that explains why this particular deficiency is so common. If you are taking certain medications for chronic acid reflux, those potent proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs, or if you are managing blood sugar with metformin, you are actively, albeit unintentionally, blocking your body's ability to utilize this color-reversing nutrient. These drugs are necessary for many people and are life-changing for certain conditions, but their mechanism of action fundamentally alters the digestive environment required for optimal nutrient uptake. For many of my patients struggling with rapid graying, it wasn't a faulty gene but a chemical conflict happening deep inside the gut, exacerbated by a medication they had been taking safely for years. When we finally identify the nutrient Co was missing, the one most susceptible to these age-related and medication-induced absorption failures, we are talking about vitamin B12 or cobalamin. This vitamin is the foundation of the entire reversal protocol. While vitamin B12 is crucial for hundreds of processes, including energy and neurological health, its role as the primary fuel source for the melanocytes cannot be overstated. Without enough bioavailable B12, those color factories simply shut down. The consequence, as we saw with Co, is that the hair follicle continues its life cycle, but the new growth is colorless. The beautiful part is that because the cells are dormant and not dead, once we corrected those three absorption problems and delivered the high-quality bioavailable form of B12 directly into her bloodstream, we gave the melanocytes permission to start working again. This nutrient isn't just about stopping graying. It's about giving the cell the energy and instruction set to produce melanin again. But here is where the story gets nuanced, and where most people who try a simple B12 supplement fail. B12 is the lead actor in the reversal process, but it requires three crucial cofactors, three supporting nutrients to effectively switch the pigment production back on. You can flood the body with B12, but if these three support nutrients are missing, the enzymatic process that actually creates the melanin pigment stalls. We need to look at how we can surgically deliver B12 and those three essential support actors, which include a vital trace mineral, a supportive B vitamin, and a remarkable antioxidant compound that cleans up the toxic byproduct of hair growth that actually bleaches the hair from the inside out. Understanding this cofactor system is the difference between slow, frustrating progress and seeing real, measurable color returning to your roots. That essential trace mineral we mentioned, the one that acts as the physical key to unlock melanin production, is copper. Think of B12 as the fuel that runs the factory, but copper is the indispensable piece of machinery. Specifically, it's a necessary component of the enzyme called tyrosinase. Tyrosinase is the little worker inside your melanocyte that actually takes the raw materials and synthesizes them into the dark pigment we call melanin. If you are low on bioavailable copper, that worker essentially has no hands. The entire assembly line grinds to a halt, even if you have plenty of B12 floating around. We often forget about trace minerals because we need such tiny amounts. But without enough copper, which you can find naturally in foods like cashews, sesame seeds, and organ meats, the enzymatic reaction necessary for color simply fails. Next up is the supportive B vitamin, folate, or vitamin B9. Folate and B12 are two sides of the same coin. When it comes to healthy cell division and growth, they rely on a deep synergistic relationship. when B12 is busy fueling the melanocyte. Folate is right there, ensuring the cell can actually grow and replace itself correctly, guaranteeing the new hair growth cycle continues to receive the correct pigmentation instructions. They are partners in DNA synthesis. If you fix your B12 but ignore your folate status, which is heavily influenced by how much dark leafy green vegetables and legumes you eat, you've only done half the job. High-quality pigmentation requires the continuous regeneration of healthy pigment-producing cells, and that is a task shared primarily by B12 and B9. The third element is perhaps the most fascinating and addresses the active destruction of color rather than just the lack of production. Every cell in your body produces a byproduct of metabolism called hydrogen peroxide. Yes, the same stuff you might use to bleach hair. Normally, your body has a built-in defense mechanism, an enzyme called catalase, whose sole job is to break down this hydrogen peroxide into harmless water and oxygen. But as we age, or if our diet is consistently lacking in quality nutrients, our levels of catalase often decline. This allows the hydrogen peroxide to build up right inside the hair follicle, essentially bleaching the new hair growth from the inside out, leading to rapid whitening. To actively address this internal bleach bath, we don't necessarily supplement catalase directly, but we flood the system with foods that specifically support its production and activity, like sweet potatoes, carrots, and high-quality fish oil. This is the cleanup crew that ensures the melanin, once produced, isn't immediately destroyed by a toxic byproduct. This is why simply grabbing an over-the-counter B12 pill usually results in disappointment. The whole gray reversal protocol isn't a one-nutrient show, it's a four-piece band playing in perfect harmony. We need the lead actor, high-quality bioavailable B12, but we also must ensure adequate levels of copper, folate, and the catalase-supporting compounds. By correcting the absorption issues we discussed earlier, using superior forms of the vitamins, and strategically implementing this four-part nutritional correction, we give the dormant melanocytes every instruction and every piece of raw material they need to finally turn that color switch back on. The question then becomes, how exactly do we implement this protocol to ensure we get the right forms of B12 and those crucial support nutrients into a body that is often designed to reject them? The implementation of this gray reversal protocol is simple, but it demands superior quality nutrients and a lot of patience, because we are correcting years of deficiency. The very first step, before you even buy a supplement, is to get tested correctly. Standard B12 blood tests often report levels that look normal, but are functionally useless because the body can't actually use that B12. If you want to know your true internal B12 status, you need to request a methylonic acid test, or MMA. This is a far more sensitive indicator of whether your cells are actually starving for B12. If this test shows elevation, we know exactly why your melanocytes are shutting down. Now, once deficiency is confirmed, or if you suspect it based on your diet and medication history, we jump straight to the correct form of B12. Since we know the primary problem in older adults is the lack of stomach acid, an intrinsic factor to pull B12 from food, trying to fix this with standard oral cyanocobalamin pills, the cheap synthetic form, is often a waste of time and money. We need to bypass the compromised digestive system entirely. This is why the protocol utilizes methylcobalamin, which is the high-quality biologically active form of B12. We recommend this be taken sublingually, a quick dissolving lozenge or liquid dropped under the tongue at a dose of 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms daily. When absorbed directly under the tongue, the B12 goes straight into your bloodstream, completely bypassing the stomach acid and intrinsic factor issues that plague oral supplementation. This ensures that the raw material actually reaches the melanocytes. But remember, B12 is just the lead singer. The band needs to play. You must simultaneously focus on the supporting cast. We increase dietary copper intake not through a supplement, which can often be poorly absorbed or disrupt the zinc balance, but through nutrient-dense foods like cashews, sunflower seeds, and mushrooms. For folate, the co-star in DNA synthesis, we ensure a daily generous intake of dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, and high-quality legumes. And finally, to protect all that new melanin, we must recruit the catalase cleanup crew. We encourage foods rich in antioxidants that support catalase activity, like sweet potatoes, carrots, high-quality dark chocolate, yes, the good stuff, and ensuring optimal vitamin D status, as these nutrients help the body produce the necessary enzyme to neutralize that internal hydrogen peroxide. This is where the patience comes in. Unlike a dye job, reversing gray hair naturally is a regenerative process, not a masking one. It takes time. The hair you have on your head right now is structurally dead. It won't change color. The change occurs only in the new hair being produced deep inside the follicle. In the case studies, including the first visible changes appeared between 6 and 12 months. Often starting as a dark halo or dark roots growing in where the gray used to be. The key is consistency. You must commit to this nutritional overhaul for at least 1 year before judging the results. Even if you only see a partial reversal, changing from fully gray to a salt and pepper mix, you are still dramatically improving your overall neurological health, energy levels, and nerve function by fixing what is arguably one of the most critical vitamin deficiencies of aging. This is not just a cosmetic fix, it's a commitment to total cellular vitality. The research is clear. Gray hair is often a profound nutritional symptom that is both predictable and correctable. You have the knowledge now to target the root cause, the absorption problem, the critical cofactors, and the specific bleaching mechanism, and implement the proven protocol used in functional medicine. We've given you the roadmap to potentially turn that color switch back on, and the potential benefits extend far beyond your hair. If you found this approach insightful and are ready to take control of your health and appearance, please consider subscribing to Much More Health, where we always focus on finding the real nutritional roots of common health struggles. Now, I want to know if you liked the video. Leave a rating from 0 to 10 in the comments, so we know if we are on the right track.